The Toyota RAV4 has been the best-selling non-pickup in the US and Canada for years now. In America, the Hyundai Tucson was ninth, not overall, but in the compact crossover class. Toyota sold nearly 3.5 times the number of RAV4s, 430,387 to 123,657. Those are the overall figures. What's more impressive is how around 28% of RAV4s are the hybrid model, a number that is consistently climbing. Moreover, the split would be even higher if Toyota could build them fast enough. There are waitlists. Clearly, the RAV4 hybrid is the desirable one. So it makes sense that Hyundai has added a hybrid model of its own to the 2022 Tucson family. The new model is bigger, bolder, and better equipped than the one it replaces. We liked the Tucson hybrid a whole bunch in our initial review, but how does it stack up against the standard of the class? Managing editor Chittage and I spent a week with both to find out. Get a quote on a new Toyota RAV4 or Hyundai Tucson. Interior and cargo space. Tucson. Stepping into the Tucson, there's a distinctly upscale feel to the surroundings. The wraparound dashboard, the waterfall center console angled slightly towards the driver, the slimline vents, it's a soothing place to be. Material quality depends on where you're looking. It's better up top, while the lower center console is quite brittle. There's also a massive amount of piano black, so enjoy it for the 18 nanoseconds it remains clean. 64-color LED ambient lighting does make it a more interesting nighttime ride, however. Neither of us are fans of the push-button shifter either. We understand why Hyundai has gone that way, Smart Park, but on more than one occasion it doesn't engage as expected. Judicious jabs required, then. Storage space is ample, with large door pockets, a deep center console, and small cubbies on either side of the transmission tunnel. North America receives the long wheelbase version of this new Tucson. That translates to ample space in all directions. In fact, bar rear headroom, 38.7 inches / 983 millimeters, and shoulder room, 56.0 inches / 1,422 millimeters, the Tucson is either close to or much more generous than the RAV4. Front headroom is 38.1 inches, 968 millimeters, but the Tucson does have a large panoramic moonroof to let the light in. Legroom is a long 41.4 inches, 1,052 millimeters up front, and barely different in the rear at 41.3 inches, 1,050 millimeters. 3 adults can sit in the rear for medium-length journeys without issue, thanks to a healthy 53.9 inches, 1,369 millimeters of hip room. With all seats in their upright positions, the Tucson Hybrid offers up 38.7 cubic feet, 1,096 liters, of storage space. Drop the second row and that figure balloons to 80.3 cubes, 2,274 L. The load opening is nice and square. RAV4. The RAV4's truck-like cues carries over inside, with chunky styling and big, easy-to-use controls. There's a usefulness to the dashboard design as well, with small shelves beside the wheel and ahead of the passenger to store knickknacks. Fit and finish is typical Toyota consistent. Both of us appreciate the grippy rubber found on important touch points, like the climate controls and door handles. The matte plastic around the drive mode selector might not be the prettiest, but we'll take it over the fingerprint factory that is piano black any day. Same with the traditional shifter. Toyota uses blue contrast stitching to denote the sportier XSE trim, but we wouldn't be opposed to it also treating the cubbies to the color too, a la the red bits in the TRD off-road. The RAV4 is plenty comfortable up front. The fabric/Softex seats offer good support, though only the driver enjoys power adjustments. Breaking out the tape measure, front seat passengers get 37.7 inches, 957 millimeters of headroom and 40.9 inches, 1,040 millimeters of legroom. Rear passengers get much more headroom, 39.4 inches / 1,002 millimeters, and much less legroom, 37.8 inches / 960 millimeters. It's fine for adults, but there is much less hip room in back, 47.7 inches / 1,212 millimeters, so 3 wide can be hard, for people or car seats alike. The trade-off with all that headroom is the lack of a panoramic sunroof, which makes the back row a little dark. Swing out back, and you'll find 37.5 CUFT 1059L of storage, barely less than the Tucson. At 69.8 cubes, 1977L, with the seats down, the Toyota gives away more space in two-seat form, but its load space is slightly taller. Both trucklets offer false floors that can be lowered for even more space. Technology and features. Tucson, this being the top-of-the-line model, the Tucson Hybrid benefits from a larger 10.25-inch central infotainment screen. It's the prettier and quicker of the two, but there are issues. The lack of physical controls means passengers need to poke the capacitive touch volume buttons repeatedly. Same goes with the climate controls. At least the driver still has redundant wheel-mounted buttons for the tunes. The Tucson also benefits from a spiffy digital instrument panel the same size. It's very useful, able to pull up various bits of information easily. Despite the lack of cowl, it also doesn't suffer from glare. Customizable themes give it a bit of flavor. The cubes are still weird, though. Other goodies include 8-way power adjustable front seats, along with heating and ventilation. The rear seats are heated as well. For USB ports. The interior, 2 in front, 2 in back. RAV4, if you've read any of our many Toyota reviews and comparisons the last year, Exhibit A, B, C, et al., you know what we're going to say here. In tune is an infotainment dinosaur, slow and laggy. The 8.0 inches of screen real estate makes it fiddly, too. But Toyota understands the value of physical controls. There's no need to reinvent the tuning and volume knobs. Down below the screen are the climate controls, also easy peasy to operate without looking. This XSE tester features the tech package, which adds in such goodies as the wireless charger, digital rearview mirror, and an upgraded JBL sound system. The RAV4 only has heated front seats, however, to match the Tucson's cooled fronts and heated rears requires a jump up to the limited trim. Powertrain, driving feel, and fuel economy. Tucson, under the hood of every Tucson hybrid model sits a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. On its own it produces 180 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. A 59 horsepower, 195 pound-foot electric motor augments that, and thanks to the wonders of vastly different power curves, the combined outputs are 227 horsepower and 258 lb-ft. A 6-speed automatic handles shifting duties, and all Tucson hybrids come standard with all-wheel drive. Unlike the RAV4, the Tucson uses a mechanical AWD system, so it can send both gas and electric torque rearwards. Around town, the Tucson rides with a bit more of an edge than the RAV4. It's by no means rough, but it is the firmer of the two. The Hyundai remains composed over bumps and expansion joints. Steering weight is perfectly adequate for the Tucson's mission statement, a reassuring amount of heft in contrast to the Toyota's lightness. The cabin is well insulated from the din of the outside world, too. In the Tucson's favor, the drivetrain feels outright stronger than the RAV4's when merging onto the highway. There is a slight amount of turbo lag, however, something the RAV4 doesn't have to contend with. The decision to go with a 6-speed automatic instead of the usual CVT fare has its pros and cons, too. On the plus side, the Tucson behaves like a regular car, without all that high-rev buzzing the RAV4 is guilty of when the fuel starts burning again. On the other hand, with only 6 gears, sudden heavy throttle application can sometimes catch it out, as there's a wait for the right cog. Fuel economy ratings for the Tucson Hybrid are 37 miles per gallon city, 36 miles per gallon highway, and 37 miles per gallon combined. The Canadian equivalents are 6.3, 6.6, and 6.4L/100 km, respectively. The base model blue trim bumps the figures up to 38 miles per gallon across the board. During the week with us, the Tucson scored an easy 39.2 miles per gallon, 6.0L/100 km. RAV4, Toyota sticks to a 2.5-liter inline 4-cylinder engine, without turbo, for the RAV4 Hybrid, like the gas models. This one runs on the leaner Atkinson cycle, however, spitting out 176 horsepower and 163 lb-ft on its own. Toyota pairs this with not one but 2 electric motors, a 118 horsepower, 149 lb-ft item up front, and a 54 horsepower, 89 lb-ft motor on the rear axle.
Combined system output is 219 horsepower. Toyota doesn't quote a torque figure.
With no mechanical connection between the axles, the RAV4 boasts electronic AWD. The rear motor spins the rear tires when needed, but can otherwise stay out of the equation to help with